Henry Farrell, former Principal Intelligence Analyst of South Yorkshire Police. 9/11 was an inside job. 7/7 was an inside job. 7/7 was an inside job.
Okay, Tony, can you tell us what happened to you the other day with the police when you?
Yeah, well, I was in my new town of Birmingham, and it was Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock, and I was wanting to get back to Sheffield, but I missed the bus, so I decided. I was walking past Digbeth Police Station in Birmingham, and I had an impulse decision to press the button. It was all closed, the station, but over the phone system, and the operative asked me who I was, and I said I've come to hand myself in for arrest under section 15 article 3 of the Terrorism Act. And she said, well, hang on a minute, just hang on there, if you hang on, we'll come have some police officers to come to assistance. Now within 5 minutes 3 police cars rolled up outside Digbeth Police Station, and 5 police officers got out, and I held my hands in front of the police officers as they greeted me, and they said, what are you doing that for? I says, I've come to be arrested under section 15 article 3 of the Terrorism Act, and not one of them knew what that was. So I had to explain for 5 minutes what the section 15 article 3 of the Terrorism Act was, and basically that's where if any person has got reasonable cause to suspect an entity or organisation has engaged in terrorist activity, and you as an individual pay money or give property to that organisation, you are committing an offence under that act. And the Home Office have confirmed to me that there are absolutely no exemptions whatsoever. Anyway, they said, well, who's this entity, organisation that is involved in terrorism activity? And I says, well, actually, you guys in Birmingham, West Midlands Police, know them very well in the concealment of the Hillsborough issue. I says, so who is it? He says, South Yorkshire Police. So they still looked at me bewildered. He says, you're telling me South Yorkshire Police, you suspect South Yorkshire Police are engaged in terrorist activity? I says, yeah. He says, what's that about then? He says, well, their concealment of what happened in the London bombings on July the 7th, 2005. Reasonable cause to suspect that my own organisation that I used to work for, South Yorkshire Police, were involved in the concealment of terrorist activity concerning the London bombings. And I mentioned 2 officers. I mentioned my former Chief Constable Meredith Hughes, and also the Detective Chief Inspector Williams, who was down on the terror drill on the day. He told me that 5 years to the day of the London bombings. Anyway, at that point, the 5 officers, one of them was Asian. He says, Mr. Farrell, he says, I'd like to shake your hand. And he shook my hand and congratulated me on my stance against South Yorkshire Police. And likewise, 2 further officers came up to me and warmly shook my hand before saying goodbye to me. Now, 2 other police officers were left, and they invited me in the back of a vehicle like this. They wouldn't address me despite me asking them to. So they put me in the back of the van. There's a small compartment here where you can sit down. They wouldn't handcuff me despite me asking them to, and they sent me to a central police station in Birmingham. and kept me for 3 hours of questioning. They wanted to steer from West Midlands counter-terrorism unit as to whether to arrest me or not. And in the end, they didn't arrest me, but we had a good chat as to why I've got the reasonable cause to suspect. I told them that I've got all the analysis they could ever wish to see on the London bombings. It's been through South Yorkshire Police, it's been through South Yorkshire Police Authority, it's been through the Sheffield Employment Tribunal, it's been in London's Employment Appeal Tribunal, it's in the Royal Court of Justice, and it's also in the hands of every single parliamentarian, which we sent details of. Now, those officers were blissfully unaware of the notion of 7/7 being an inside job. So they were trying to get me to contact South Yorkshire Police and verify who I was. But it was Sunday at tea time and they were unable to actually access them. So what we did is says, well, there's no problem here, you can verify who I am just by Googling and looking at Tony Farrell whistleblower. So they did that. They typed in on Google in the back office, Tony Farrell whistleblower, and one of the officers said, bloody hell, you're famous. He says, what's all, as they opened up, Collister and Farrell are dead, and they looked at all the videos that had been made about the London bombings. So we spent 5 minutes educating them on just exactly what happened on the 7th of July 2005. And what we're led to believe that it was 4 Islamic terrorists that happened. Well, it wasn't. It was all MI5 that perpetrated those acts in order to blame the Muslims. 4 lads were set up as patsies, and this was all to do with creating a bogus terror threat that has existed since 9/11. 9/11 is also an inside job, and this is to justify the imperialistic designs of America and Britain. And for my part, my stance was simply, I was not prepared to bear false witness against my neighbour. I was not prepared to breach professional standards for honesty and integrity of South Yorkshire Police. But for doing that, for making the stands, for speaking truth to power, they chucked me out the organisation. But those officers that were alerted to stuff they'd never previously heard of shook my hands and congratulated me. So the moral of the little story here is that the police service, in their ignorance, need to be woken up about what really is going on with their masters. And I'm talking about, when we say masters, I'm talking about the Association of Chief Police Officers and the corrupt Chief Constables. This comes in a week when Sean Price, Chief Constable, has been sacked. It comes when Bettison has fallen over the Hillsborough affair and has retired prematurely. And we've got all sorts of corruption at the Chief Constable level. I myself have named Meredith Hughes as complicit in the concealment of the London bombings. Why do I say that? Well, he was over at Glen Eagles on the 7th of July 2005 looking after Tony Blair and George W. Bush, and there was a bomb hoax there. He was the Chief Constable at Sheffield. There were 2 bomb hoaxes on the 5th of July and then on the 11th of July 2005 that were expected to were the work of the Muslims. Well, it wasn't. It's almost certainly engineered by the law enforcement agencies, including South Yorkshire Police. And also then South Yorkshire Police Chief Constable Meredith Hughes was given the task of managing the whole process post 7/7. So all that cover up, all that concealment of what really happened fell down to none other than former Chief Constable Meredith Hughes. He announced his retirement on the 8th of July 2010. That was the very day that I decided to go viral on the internet. So that was a nice synchronistic event. But he's now rewarded with a QPM or whatever. Google him on Wikipedia. You'll see that he had the involvement. And if you want to see a little bit more, I'd say check out Collister and Farrell Are Dead and The Ripple Effect 2 by Muad'Dib. That's all you'd need to know to get a good grasp of what really went on in the London bombings 2005. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Officers, good afternoon. Just making an observation. How do you officers, obviously Asian officers, how do you feel about the fact that the police services are demonising Muslims and have blamed Muslims inappropriately for the London bombings? Like they've done with 9/11?
At this moment in time, I'm not allowed to make any comment on that. All right,
Yeah, okay.
So, thanks for asking that.
Anyone else?
Yeah, but where would you? I used to be the principal intelligence analyst at South Yorkshire Police. You know what South Yorkshire Police did? They sacked the principal intelligence analyst when they was asked him to do a terror threat assessment. And as an analyst, it was an inside job. So how could I say, when I adhere to professional standards for honesty and integrity, that the threat comes from Islamic terrorism, when Western governments, USA, commit 9/11, and all British governments, MI5, perpetrate the London bombings and blame it on 4 innocent Muslims. And South Yorkshire Police haven't got the courage. They used to go by a mantra, justice with courage. In fact, justice with courage. They've abandoned that mantra now, and it's a good job because they're not showing courage. They're spineless and cowardly. And little wonder, what have we got? 23 years of cover-up of Hillsborough. And even now, after Lord Justice, the Independent Police Panel's report, the Bishop of Liverpool, they've still hidden the fact that ACC Walter Jackson was hidden underneath the table like a gibbering wreck in the control room where CCTV was showing the horror unfolding. And the police, senior management in the police for 23 years, successive chief constables, have covered that atrocious fact up. And even now, after the Lord Justice Taylor's inquiry, Lord Stuart Smith, and the independent panel report, we've still not had the truth coming out. They are still trying to cover up their own reputations rather than confront the truth. That makes me feel very sad as a former employee of South Yorkshire Police, as a principal intelligence analyst with an exemplary record. Anyway guys, I've nothing against you, I wish you all the best, but I just want you to know what kind of organisation you're working for. They need to have what they're taught, justice with courage, find mantra, find words, but they're not walking the talk at the moment. Right, have a nice day, sir. Cheers to life. This is Mr. Slynn and the legal department. We're just coming into South Yorkshire Police headquarters, and I just want to give him evidence that 7/7 was an inside job, Mr. Slynn. I just want to give you Hollister and Farrell are dead video. I hope you watch it.
Cool. I will do.
Okay, sure. Thanks a lot, mate. Plays the tune, Sam.